Tell me in the comments where you are watching from as this story begins. The mining outpost hung in the black sky, a small dot among millions of stars. Smoke and dust swirled around the metal towers. Machines hummed and clanged. It was a place where only work mattered, and the strong always ruled. Among the workers was a dragon mother, tall and powerful, with scales that shone like melted gold under the weak light of the station. Her wings were folded tightly, but her body trembled. She carried exhaustion in her eyes, and sorrow that no one dared to speak of. Her children huddled nearby in a small cage, thin and weak. They were not monsters, though the humans and aliens called them that. They were her hatchlings, her pride, her heart. She had worked for months, mining rare crystals and carrying heavy cargo, hoping to earn enough to feed them. But the station magistrate had stolen her wages. The money that could buy life for her children was gone, taken by rules she did not understand. The dragon mother knelt before the magistrate. She lowered her head in respect, though anger burned in her chest. "Please," she said, her voice deep but trembling, "I only need my wages. My children haven't eaten. They are weak. They need food." The magistrate, a tall, thin alien with pale skin and eyes like black glass, looked down at her with a cold smile. "Rules are rules," he said. "You were warned about working too slowly. You knew the risks." He tapped his claw on the table. "No one here cares for your children. You knew this when you came to our station. Go back to your cage and stop crying for mercy." The dragon mother's heart sank. She looked at her children. Their tiny bodies shivered as hunger gnawed at them. Her throat tightened. "Please," she repeated louder. "I only want what I earned. My children are starving. I cannot bear to see them suffer another day." A small crowd had gathered. Miners, traders, and aliens of every kind. Some whispered to each other, pointing at the dragon mother. They had seen her before, always strong, always proud. But now she was kneeling, vulnerable, desperate. And yet no one moved. No one helped. No one dared to break the rules of the station. From the back of the crowd, a human watched. He was small and thin, not strong like the dragon mother, not respected like the magistrate. His clothes were worn, and his hands were covered with cuts from years of labor. His name was Kale. He had seen enough suffering on the station to know that sometimes courage came in quiet ways, not just in weapons or size. Kale stepped forward, moving slowly through the crowd. The murmurs grew louder. "Who is that?" someone whispered. "He can't stop the magistrate. He's nothing." But Kale didn't care. He reached the front and held out his hand, offering a small, glowing pay chip. It was all he had earned for months. "Take this," he said simply. "Feed your children." The dragon mother's eyes widened. The crowd gasped. The magistrate froze, his thin lips pressed into a line. No one had ever given anything freely here. People competed for scraps, for survival. And now, this human, weak and small, was giving everything he had to someone else. The dragon mother hesitated. Pride warred with gratitude. She had never depended on anyone. She had always protected her children herself. But hunger and desperation softened her stubborn heart. She took the pay chip, her claws shaking slightly. Tears ran down her scaled cheeks. Kale stepped back, his eyes calm. "Your children will eat," he said. "That is enough for me." The crowd stared in silence. Some began to whisper that maybe humans were stronger than they looked. Maybe courage did not always come from size or claws or fire. Maybe it came from the heart. The magistrate finally spoke, his voice sharp, trying to regain control. "This changes nothing," he shouted. "The rules still stand. You are all still bound by law." Kale looked at him without fear. "Rules are for people who only think of themselves," he said. "Some things are bigger than law." The dragon mother lowered her head once more, but this time in respect, not fear. She saw something in this human that she had not expected. Strength, honor, and a will to help others even when it meant giving up everything. Her heart lifted just a little. The children in the cage chirped softly. They could sense the change. They were hungry, yes, but hope was stronger than hunger now. And hope came from the smallest person in the crowd, the human who had stepped forward when no one else would. Kale turned and walked back through the crowd. He said nothing more. He didn't need to. What he had done would be remembered. The dragon mother would never forget. And in the harsh, cold outpost orbiting the dying star, a quiet lesson had been written into the hearts of everyone who watched. Courage and kindness could shine brighter than fear, rules, or even power. And above all, even in the darkness of space, heroes sometimes came from the most unexpected places. The dragon mother carried the glowing pay chip back to her children. Their tiny wings fluttered weakly as she opened the cage. Hunger had made them quiet, almost still, but the moment the chip was touched to the feeder, they began to eat. Their eyes, large and bright, seemed to shine with life again. The dragon mother watched them, her heart swelling with relief. She had never felt so grateful to another being. Kale had returned to the back of the crowd, unnoticed now, but the magistrate had not forgotten him. He glared, his black glass eyes burning with anger. "You cannot interfere with the law," he said. "No one can break the rules without consequences." Kale turned, facing the magistrate. "I don't need your permission," he said. His voice was calm, but it carried weight. "I did what is right. That is enough." The crowd murmured again. Some began to whisper about the courage of humans. Others shook their heads, unable to understand how someone so small could stand against the system. But no one dared to stop him. Even the strongest aliens in the crowd seemed to pause, unsure of what to do next. The dragon mother approached Kale. She lowered her head slightly, unsure of how to speak. Her voice was soft, filled with awe. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you help me? You do not even know me." Kale shrugged, a small smile on his face. "Because you are a mother," he said. "And your children needed food. That is enough for me. Everyone deserves a chance to survive." The dragon mother looked at him carefully. His words were simple, but they carried truth. She had seen many humans on the station, and most only thought of themselves. Kale was different. He had stepped forward when no one else would. And that, she realized, made him stronger than most warriors she had known. "You have given us more than food," she said, her voice trembling. "You have given hope. I do not know your name, but I will remember this." Kale shook his head. "You do not need to remember me," he said. "Just take care of your children. That is enough." But the dragon mother could not let it end there. She wanted to repay him in some way, though she had no idea how. Her mind raced, thinking of the few things she could offer. Gold, rare crystals, a promise of protection. Nothing seemed enough. Meanwhile, the magistrate made his next move. He raised his claw, signaling the enforcers. "Take him," he shouted. "The human interferes with the laws of this station. No one disobeys the magistrate without punishment." Kale turned to face the enforcers. He did not run. He did not fight. He simply stood tall, his eyes calm. The crowd held its breath. Many expected a battle, some even hoped for violence, but Kale had no need for it. The dragon mother stepped forward. She raised her massive wings slightly, enough to cast a shadow over the enforcers. Her eyes glowed with a soft golden light, a warning that she would not stand by while an innocent being was punished. The enforcers hesitated. They had heard stories of dragons defending humans before, but most dismissed them as myths. Now, seeing the dragon mother standing with Kale, they paused. Fear and respect battled in their minds. Kale smiled faintly at the dragon mother. "You do not need to fight for me," he said. "I will handle this." But the dragon mother shook her head. "You have done more than I could ever do for my children," she said. "I will not let anyone harm you. You saved my family. Now I save you." The magistrate's eyes narrowed. He realized that this human and the dragon mother together were more than he had expected. They were a pair no one could easily intimidate. The crowd watched silently, unsure of what would happen next. Kale spoke to the magistrate quietly, but his words carried to everyone in the hall. "Rules are only as strong as the people who follow them," he said. "If no one acts out of fear, the rules have no power. The choice is yours. Will you continue to punish those who try to do good?" For a moment, the hall was silent. The enforcers looked at each other, the crowd held its breath, and even the magistrate paused. Kale's simple words had reminded everyone of something they had forgotten. Courage and kindness mattered more than laws written on paper. The dragon mother lowered her wings slightly, her eyes still on Kale. She had never felt such respect for another being. He was not a warrior, not in the usual sense. But his courage, his heart, and his willingness to step forward made him a hero in a way she could barely understand. Finally, the magistrate turned away, his pride wounded, but his power still intact. "This is not over," he said coldly. "Do not think your actions are without consequence." Kale nodded, calm. "We will see," he said. As the magistrate left, the crowd began to disperse. Many whispered about what had happened, some in disbelief, some in admiration. The dragon mother watched her children eat, their bellies full for the first time in days. She looked at Kale, who was walking back to the edge of the hall, and felt a strange warmth in her chest, a feeling she had not known in centuries. Hope had returned to the dragon mother, and not just for her children. It had returned for her too. And for the first time, she believed that even in a harsh, uncaring world, someone could step forward and make a difference. Above the outpost, the stars shone brightly. The night was silent except for the hum of machines, but the Dragon Mother and Kale had changed something. Courage had grown in the hearts of those who watched. And in a world of fear and greed, that courage would ripple farther than anyone could imagine. The Dragon Mother and her children rested in the quiet corner of the station, the pay chip carefully used to buy food that would last for days. The hatchlings ate eagerly, their tiny claws clutching at the bowls. The Dragon Mother watched them, her heart still racing from what had just happened. Kale stood a short distance away, leaning against a metal beam. He seemed calm, almost ordinary, but the Dragon Mother could sense something different about him. He carried strength without force, courage without anger. The station, however, was not a safe place. The magistrate's anger did not fade. Orders were sent to the enforcers. Messages carried through the network that Kale had broken the rules and interfered with an alien worker's wages. Soon, several enforcers arrived near the food stores, scanning for the human. Kale saw them approach and did not move. He simply stepped forward, walking slowly into the open, hands empty. The enforcers stopped. They were large, heavily armed, and used to fear controlling the weaker species. But Kale looked at them without fear. His eyes were steady. His voice calm. "I do not wish to fight," he said, "but I will not run. You want to punish me? Punish someone else for once. Punish those who steal from children, those who take what is not theirs." The enforcers shifted nervously. They were trained to follow orders, yet they also understood fairness. The crowd, now returning after hearing of the Dragon Mother's relief, began to gather again. Murmurs of disbelief spread through the station. Many whispered that humans were strange. Small, fragile, and yet unafraid of death. The Dragon Mother stepped beside Kale. Her wings rose slightly, not fully spread, but enough to cast a shadow over the enforcers. Her claws tapped the floor lightly, a warning. "He has done nothing wrong," she said, her voice deep and strong. "He has fed my children. That is his only crime, and it is one of courage. Will you take him from me?" The enforcers hesitated. Their leader, a tall alien with green scales and sharp teeth, growled softly. "This is not a normal human," he admitted to his companions. "He is not afraid. That is unusual." Kale smiled faintly at the Dragon Mother. "You do not need to fight for me," he said. "I can handle this." But the Dragon Mother shook her head. She had never been so certain of anything in her long life. "You risked everything for my family," she said. "Now I will risk mine to protect you." The enforcers looked at her in awe. Dragons were powerful, but not all chose to use their power for protection. Seeing her stand beside a human, they sensed something greater than strength. A bond, a courage that was hard to break. The leader of the enforcers stepped forward. "We are only following orders," he said, but his voice was softer now. "This human has interfered with the station's laws." "That is true. But maybe the law is wrong." Kale nodded. "Sometimes the law protects the greedy and punishes the innocent. Sometimes it is up to those who are willing to stand for what is right to change it." The Dragon Mother watched silently. She felt pride, not for herself, but for this human who had done what no dragon, no alien, and no magistrate had dared. He had acted out of kindness and fairness. He had risked his life, knowing that standing up for others was dangerous. And yet he had no fear. The enforcers looked at one another. Their leader finally stepped back. "This is unusual," he said. "We cannot act against them now. We will report it, but, for now, leave. Do not break the peace again." Kale nodded once. "We will not," he said, his voice calm. "But remember, true strength is not in weapons or laws. It is in doing what is right when no one else will." The crowd watched as the enforcers left. Whispers spread quickly through the station. Many of the miners and traders began to question their own choices. Could they be braver? Could they act for what was right even if it meant standing against the rules? The Dragon Mother turned to Kale. "You have shown me something I thought was lost," she said. "Humans are weak, people have told me, but you are stronger than anyone I have known." Kale smiled faintly. "Strength is not only in the body," he said. "It is in the heart. Courage is a choice, not a gift." For a moment, the Dragon Mother simply watched him. She realized that this small human who could barely lift a tool heavier than a claw, had the heart of a hero. And heroes were rare. As the night settled over the station, the stars above glimmered faintly. The Dragon Mother fed her children, who were now full and chirping softly. Kale stood quietly nearby, watching, listening, and learning the ways of the station. He was no longer just a worker. He had become something else, a symbol of courage, a reminder that even the smallest among them could make a difference. And in the darkness of the outpost, a quiet lesson had begun to spread. Courage could shine brighter than fear. Kindness could be stronger than greed. And one human had shown that even in a cold, uncaring world, there were those who would risk everything to do what was right. The dragon mother finally lowered her wings, resting them against her body. She looked at Kale with new respect, knowing that he was someone to trust. And somewhere deep inside she felt that together, they could face whatever dangers the station or the universe might throw at them next. The days passed quietly at the mining outpost, but Kale knew the calm would not last. Word of his courage and the dragon mother's protection had spread quickly. The magistrate had not forgotten him, and neither had the corporations that controlled the station. Their ships waited silently in orbit, ready to take action at a moment's notice. Kale watched the stars at night, thinking about what might come. He did not feel fear. He felt responsibility. The dragon mother had begun to trust him completely. She let him move freely around the children, teaching them small lessons and watching them play. Kale's presence seemed to calm the hatchlings. They chirped when he approached, and sometimes they even let him feed them, though carefully and respectfully. The dragon mother realized something remarkable. This human, so small and fragile, had a natural way of earning trust and respect without demanding it. One evening, as the station hummed quietly under the fading light of a distant sun, alarms suddenly blared. Red lights flashed. A fleet of corporate ships appeared in orbit, blocking the station's exits. Their engines glowed bright, reflecting off the metal towers below. The magistrate's voice came through the station speakers, tense and urgent. The human has broken the rules. All units prepare to capture him. Use any means necessary. The dragon mother lowered her wings and stepped in front of Kale. Do not fight them, she said calmly. I will not let them harm you, but we must be smart. Bravery without wisdom can be dangerous. Kale nodded. I am ready, he said. He did not sound afraid. But I will not run. I will face this. We can face this together. The corporate fleet fired warning shots into the station's outer structure. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and workers scrambled to safety. The dragon mother lifted into the air, her massive wings stirring gusts that knocked debris aside. She flew calmly through the chaos, carrying Kale beside her as workers looked on in awe. No one expected a human to ride a dragon into battle. Kale looked at the approaching ships. He did not see weapons. He did not see machines. He saw people, workers, engineers, and soldiers who followed orders without question. They had been trained to obey, but they had not been trained to face someone who acted from courage and fairness. Kale understood something important. The fleet's power was only as strong as the obedience of the people controlling it. He spoke into a communicator using a signal long thought lost to time. It was an old human protocol, a simple message that could reach other stations and systems. Stop, he said clearly. You are acting against the innocent. You are taking from children. Do you wish to be remembered as those who harm or those who protect? The message spread. Across the network, workers on nearby stations hesitated. Some shut down engines. Others refused to fire weapons. The corporate fleet faltered, unsure of who was obeying orders and who was listening to the human signal. Chaos spread through the enemy ranks without a single shot fired directly at Kale or the Dragon Mother. The Dragon Mother landed near the central hub of the station. Kale stepped off her back and walked forward, calm and unafraid. The corporate commander, a large alien with blue armor and silver eyes, confronted him. You cannot stop us, he said. We are stronger, faster, and have weapons you cannot match. Kale looked at him steadily. Strength is not only in weapons, he said. It is in the courage to do what is right when no one else will. You can follow orders or you can choose to protect life. The choice is yours. The commander hesitated. He had never met a human like this, one who spoke softly but commanded respect with his words alone. He looked at the soldiers around him, saw doubt in their eyes, and realized something important. They had the power, yes, but Kale had something greater. Influence without violence. Finally, the commander lowered his weapon. We will withdraw, he said. His voice was uncertain. But know this is only temporary. Kale nodded once. Then use this time wisely, he said. Think about what is right, not just what is easy. The fleet left orbit. The alarms stopped. The red lights faded. The station was quiet once again, but the workers, aliens, and miners had seen something extraordinary. Courage, fairness, and wisdom could change the universe more than guns or rules ever could. The Dragon Mother approached Kale, her eyes filled with pride. You have done what I could not imagine, she said. You have faced a fleet without a sword, without fire, without fear. You are remarkable. Kale shook his head, smiling faintly. I only did what anyone should do, he said. But together we protected your family. That is what matters. The dragon mother looked at her children, who were now playing safely under the care of other miners. She realized that this human had not only fed them but had protected them from a danger she had never imagined. And she knew something else. Humans, small and fragile as they might seem, could change the course of worlds when they acted with courage. Above the station the stars shone quietly. The night was calm again, but everyone who had witnessed the events knew the truth. Even in a universe ruled by strength, laws and machines, one human could inspire hope. One human could turn fear into courage. And one human with the heart to act, could stand beside a dragon and face the impossible. Kale and the dragon mother walked together to the children, smiling softly. Their bond was no longer just of need, but of trust and respect. They had faced the first storm and they knew the next challenges would be greater. But they were ready. Together, nothing could break their courage. The station was calm now, the corporate fleet gone, but the air still hummed with tension. Workers whispered to each other, some in awe, some in disbelief. They had seen what a human could do, not with weapons, not with fire, not with laws, but with courage and heart. Kale walked slowly through the crowd, his eyes on the dragon mother and her children. The dragon mother had returned to her family, her hatchlings now playful and full of life. She watched them carefully, her massive wings folded around them like a shield. Kale approached her. They are safe, he said softly. And for now so are you. The dragon mother's eyes shone with gratitude. You have done more than feed my children, she said. You have shown them hope. You have shown me hope. I owe you more than words can ever say. Kale shook his head. I don't need anything in return, he said. I only did what anyone should do. You and your children deserved help. That is enough for me. For a moment they stood in silence. The stars outside the station glimmered faintly through the metal walls. The hum of machines was soft now, almost peaceful. Kale looked at the dragon mother and her children, and a quiet smile appeared on his face. He realized something important. Courage and kindness were stronger than fear, stronger than rules, stronger than weapons. And anyone could choose to have them. The dragon mother spoke again, her voice filled with wonder. Humans, I thought you were weak, fragile, short-lived. But I was wrong. You are remarkable. Kale smiled. We are not perfect, he said. But when we step forward for others, we are stronger than most imagine. The children chirped happily, sensing the calm in the air. They ran and played, weaving between the legs of miners and traders who had come to see the dragon mother and her human companion. Their scales shimmered in the dim lights, and for the first time in days they were full, happy and safe. The dragon mother lowered her massive head and looked into Kale's eyes. You could have left, she said. You could have hidden and ignored us as many others do. But you didn't. You risked everything for beings you did not know. That is not weakness. That is strength beyond measure. Kale shrugged lightly. I only did what I had to do, he said. I could not stand by while others suffered. If I had ignored you, someone would have had to act later. Why not now? A silence settled over them, and even the workers in the station felt it. This was a moment they would remember. A human had changed the course of events without violence, without force. He had acted with heart, and it had been enough. Days passed, and word of Kale's courage spread beyond the station. Other miners and traders began to question the harsh laws that govern them. Some returned stolen wages to those who had been cheated. Others refused to follow orders that caused suffering. Slowly, a new respect for fairness and kindness began to grow across the outpost. The dragon mother observed it all quietly. She realized that Kale's actions had done more than save her children. He had changed the station itself. Humans were often underestimated, she thought. Small, fragile, and simple. Yet, in the face of danger, one human had made a difference no weapon could achieve. One evening, as the stars shone brightly above, Kale and the dragon mother sat together, watching her children play. What will you do now? She asked softly. Kale smiled faintly. I will keep helping where I can, he said. I do not need power or wealth. I only need to do what is right. The dragon mother nodded. She knew then that this human was extraordinary, not because he could fight or command but because he could inspire. His courage, kindness, and wisdom would echo across the stars in ways she could not imagine. Years later, the story of that night was told across the galaxy. Dragons told their young about the human who had stepped forward when no one else would. Workers on stations far and wide remembered the courage of the small, quiet human who had changed the law without lifting a weapon. The Dragon Mother's children grew strong and healthy, always remembering the human who had saved them. They carried the story with them, teaching it to others. And the Dragon Mother never forgot Kale, the human who had shown that courage and kindness were more powerful than fear, stronger than any law, and brighter than the stars themselves. Kale continued to travel among the stars, always looking for those who needed help. He did not seek fame, riches, or praise. He only acted when needed. And in every system he visited, whispers told of a human who stood against cruelty, who inspired hope, and who showed the universe that one person, even small and ordinary, could make a difference. The stars above the outpost shone as they always had, but now they reflected a new light, the light of courage, kindness, and hope. And the Dragon Mother knew, as she watched her children and thought of Kale, that some humans were truly extraordinary. They were not gods. They were not rulers. They were something better, humans who chose to stand for what was right when no one else would. And in that choice the universe changed.